Campaign is calling for compensation for people affected by contaminated blood transfusions in the 1970s and 80s, have given a cautious welcome to government plans to review the matter. Up to 30,000 people were infected and thousands died as a result. It's been called the biggest treatment disaster in NHS history, and so far there's been no government compensation, just limited financial support. Here's our health editor, Hugh Pym.
Jason Evans watches home videos to remember the father he barely knew. He was just 4 when his dad Jonathan died after being infected with HIV and hepatitis C as a result of treatment for his haemophilia. He's been campaigning to get to the truth of what happened and for the government to pay compensation.
These are demonstrable losses that have occurred. People couldn't get life insurance. People lost their homes. They lost their careers. My own mum was sacked from her job based on the fact that it was known that my dad had AIDS. So there are real losses here that have occurred before we even talk about the emotional damage, the physical damage.
A public inquiry into what's been called the worst disaster in NHS history is underway. Inquiry staff have been trawling through hundreds of thousands of pages of official documents. At the hearings, those who'd lost loved ones were encouraged to leave notes in bottles. More than 3,000 people died after they were treated with contaminated blood products, some of which were imported using blood from paid donors, including prisoners. Victims and their families do get financial assistance, but campaigners say today marks a big change, with the government for the first time saying that compensation could be paid, depending on the outcome of the inquiry.
The government have never previously acknowledged liability for this. They've always paid this money on the basis that it was support payments rather than compensation. And so they've never actually acknowledged their liability and said that they're responsible for this. So just the word and the recognition that comes with that word compensation is hugely significant for our community.
The inquiry chair, Sir Brian Langstaff, had said that it was unfair that the UK's 4 nations were paying out different levels of financial support. Today he welcomed a new commitment to get those national schemes up to the same level. Clair, Walton's husband Brian, died with HIV and hepatitis C after being treated with contaminated blood products. Claire, who gave evidence at the inquiry, said today marked a step forward.
I was 23 years old when this started, and I'll be 60 this year. Been turned from a wife into a carer, from a wife into a widow, and it would be good just to see the end, and that's what compensation means to me.
But families of those who died know there have been false dawns before. For certainty, they'll have to await the findings of the inquiry next year. Hugh Pym, BBC News.